So I just wrapped up a few trials over the last couple of weeks, and most of my cases are pretty high conflict child custody battles, right? And a lot of the work that I do is, teaching co-parenting and mediating and trying to help families resolve the issues that have gotten out of hand because do your kids really deserve to be involved in this crazy dynamic where their parents are just always at it, tug of warring with each other, trying to fight over the kids and telling the kids this and telling the kids that and putting the kids through this and putting them through that? And I just got to this place where I'm wondering and I'm constantly asking, how did we get here? Right? Like, how did so many families, how do so many of us end up in these unhealthy family dynamics where the parents hate each other, the kids are being, pulled in different directions, parents are talking about the other parent in front of the kids, getting the kids involved, having the kids say one thing about the parent or to the other parent, and just disagreeing and arguing and fighting in front of these kids all the time. Like, how did we get here? And everyone has a story, right? Like, everyone has something to say about the other parent. They are this and they're that, and they do this or they don't do that, right? And the reality is, how do we get to a place where we have kids that we hate with someone that we hate so much? Like, at what point did we miss the mark? Because accountability is important, right? And I think that this is where a lot of times there's this misstep, right? Because you're in love and you are in lust and you are having a good time and you're dating and you're doing your thing and you living your best life. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing so, right? Like, do you? But at the end of the day, if we all spent more time like really thinking about and being mindful of the people that we're having these relationships with and the outcome, right, of what things will look like if we have children with this person, and we process that beforehand, then a lot of times these situations can be prevented, right? Like, nobody wants to have an unhealthy co-parenting relationship, I don't think. Nobody wants to obviously raise their kids in two different homes. But if you do have to, I'm sure you want peace. And I know that people change and I know that people pivot and make these shifts and they turn into, someone that you didn't even recognize or you didn't know that they ever would be. I understand that that happens. But 9 times out of 10, when I'm talking to people about their co-parents and I'm talking about their behaviors and their attitudes and their character, they knew that this person was constantly always arguing with people, including them, about whatever, even when it was something simple. They knew that they didn't know how to have healthy communication and healthy conversations if they're uncomfortable. They knew that there was always arguing and screaming and yelling and fighting and throwing things and name calling and gossiping and, manipulation and all of these things, all of these traits. They knew that they were a narcissist. And I'm not even going to have a conversation about that word because it's ridiculously overused. But anyway, all of these things that they knew were showing up when they were engaging with this person. Did you think, or do you think that they will show up differently if you're not together and you're just a co-parent? No. These same traits that you're complaining about and that you see are the things that they will carry on and carry over into your parenting dynamic, which means these are the same things that your children could potentially experience. The arguing, the yelling, the screaming, the cussing, the fussing, the narcissism, the manipulation, the talking bad about the other parent, the pulling them this way, the pulling them that way, the lack of the ability to communicate effectively or peacefully or even respectfully, right? The lack of control. All of these things, all of these traits that are unhealthy and that showed up before the fact are the things that you'll have to deal with and your child will have to deal with. And you'll be going back and forth to court dealing with, right? You think they was lying then, wait till you see them in a courtroom. And when false abuse allegations start showing up, or lies about you not ever being involved in your kid's life show up, and the tactics to try everything that they can to destroy your relationship with your child. You don't really know that experience until you know that experience, and you don't want to know that experience. And your kids shouldn't have to know that experience. And so we talk a lot about, co-parenting, how to deal and how to process and move through the divorce and the separation process, but we don't talk about how to pay attention to the signs ahead of time, how to be mindful and recognize that this might not be the one. This might not be the person that you want to have a connection with for the next 18 years while you're trying to raise a child with them and fighting in every situation and conversation and about every issue. Can you imagine fighting over what doctor your child is going to see, what sport they're going to play, what team they're going to play for, what colors they're going to wear, how they're going to dress, what their religion is going to be, what school they're going to go to, whether you get to take them to Disneyland this weekend or ever, whether you are actually a good enough parent to take them on a vacation or if just the other parent is, whether you get to be involved in their education or whether you don't know anything about math and I'm the better parent, so no, let's block them completely. We don't talk about thinking about those things in advance enough. And it feels like it's common sense and it feels like it shouldn't have to be said. But the reality is I wouldn't have a job, right? If it was said enough and if we actually were more intentional about baby making.